All right, well, I appreciate you being here in this lovely fall weather. No? It's not lovely? At least the trees. I mean, the trees do look good. I know it's hard a couple of days after, we have daylight savings. We got to deal with this weather, but we'll make it. All right, so again, thank you for being here. My name is Jimmy Mwangi. I'm a Senior Technology Product Manager, and I want to welcome you to another monthly speaker series, today focused on retail, all right? But before we get going, I know some of you have seen some new faces, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do this. So before we get the show going, we kick this off with some trivia. So for those of you that haven't been here, I'll explain how it works. I'll go through a set of questions, multiple choice, so we'll be fine. Please don't shout those answers, because I know I'm good, but I'm not that good. So please, just raise your hand. I'll try to do a good job of scanning the room. For those of you that are back there, for you to win a prize, there's prizes, you need to be seated right here. So we still have some open seating over here. Okay, so with that, we're gonna kick this off. Got the music going. And we're going to get the first question up here. All right. In 2022, what percentage of consumers prefer to engage digitally with retailers and brands? A, 26%, B, 57%, C, 42%, D, 39%. Nobody? Okay. All the way in the back with the jacket. Perfect. Nice. All right. Good job. All right, next one. Personalized retail experiences lead to what percentage of consumers making repeat purchases? A, 52%, B, 64%, C, 78%, D, 81%. I think, Ryan, I saw your hand first. 78% it is. All right, next one. All right, this is a tough one, I'm sure. If 20% of shoplifting is mitigated, the retail industry can save roughly how much in a single day? A, 13 million, B, 19 million, C, 22 million, D, 25 million. I saw a hand right here. D, 25 million, huh? In a single day. Yeah. Okay, let's keep this going. All right. When focused on customer engagement, such as effective personalization, store revenue can increase by what percentage? A, 5 to 15%, B, 10 to 20%, C, 15 to 25%, or D, 20 to 30%? I think I saw a hand. Christy was right behind you, though. It was the first one, right behind you, right there. Yes. D is correct. It's close. Thanks, Megan. All right, next one. Customers abandoning their purchase because of long lines results in what amount of missed sales annually? A, 38 billion, B, 14 billion, C, 46 billion, D, 27 billion. So a hand here, gentleman with the hat. C is not correct. What was the answer? A is correct. 38 billion. Okay. Last one. Okay, what percentage of people prefer interacting with humans more than technology when resolving questions in a retail environment? A, 65%, B, 81%, C, 70%, D, 43%. All right, I did see your hand up first.
I was going to say D, 43%.
You were going to say that?
I am.
Oh, okay. just checking. D is not correct, unfortunately. All right, see a hand right here? Yes, you. 43% is not correct. That was D. Okay. In the back. Yes. What was that? B is not correct either. All right, Christy. 70% is correct. All right. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Okay, so if you haven't had a chance, please check out a demo from Juice. They're doing some innovative stuff. Actually, a stat that stood out to me while talking to them is brands that interact with them, or at least are using their product, have increased their conversion by 8%, so eightfold. So definitely check them out. And then last but not least, again, innovate with us. If you've got an idea, go to Tech Experience, submit your idea, and would love to work with you. So with that, thank you for being attentive, being good. Thank you for having some of these VIP guests up here. We'll get the show going. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to our 5G Hub speaker series on retail. It's hard to believe we are now in November, which means we're officially in holiday season and peak season for retailers. Plus, who doesn't love a little retail therapy, right? It's no surprise that retailers are under pressure. Operating margins are stressed as they look to manage rising labor costs, variable supply chain issues, and inflation. They are fighting for air, all while trying to adapt to the ever-evolving behaviors of consumers in a hyper-connected post-COVID world. Today, consumers expect intentional, differentiated experiences when they visit a store. And brick-and-mortar locations need to be utilized beyond simple retailing hubs. 5G will be the key to unlock this transformation, and over the next 5 years, drive $269.5 billion in additional revenues, $54.6 billion in added GDP contributions, and over 800,000 jobs will be created or transformed. It's significant. And with the integration of 5G-enabled technologies, retailers can begin to adapt changing customer behaviors by digitally transforming brick-and-mortar locations to deliver a truly omni-channel experience with personalized customer engagement, and along with solving challenges with checkout and business intelligence. We are already seeing this retail transformation with companies like Nike and their integrated in-store app experience, Walmart with their fast unloader automated conveyor system, Audi with its digital showroom leveraging VR to customize your vehicle, and CoverGirl's in-store experience with AI-generated hologram shopping assistant, along with AR Glam Station. 5G will unlock near real-time retailing data for retailers to make decisions which are tuned dynamic customer behaviors and trends. 5G will also create unique customer engagement experiences by blending the digital, physical layers of brick and mortar. And 5G will power sales and operating efficiencies by infusing retail operations with new automations. There is so much opportunity and potential for retail and 5G, and that's exactly what we are going to explore in our panel discussion this evening. So please join me in welcoming our panelists out on stage. Welcome, good evening. All right. Again, we have a fantastic panel here this evening to talk all about retail, and I'm going to start off with some introductions. All right, so first we have Paul Teppenhart, the Director of Global Grocery Retail at Google Cloud. His extensive retail experience includes leadership roles at H-E-B and Walmart, where he pioneered omni-channel initiatives. At H-E-B, he grew the digital business into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise and established a retail innovation lab for future store technologies. Previously at Walmart, his teams introduced popular programs like home delivery and curbside pickup. Paul started his career with Procter & Gamble, managing brands such as Folgers and Pringles. Thanks for joining, Paul.
Great to be here, Aaron.
All right. And next we have Adam Perry, an accomplished advisor solutions architect at Dell Technologies with over 20 years of experience. He specializes in developing solutions for retail and manufacturing organizations in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Adam has played a pivotal role in the CTO Ambassador Program, focusing on emerging technologies, particularly generative AI. Early in his career, Adam was very entrepreneurial and started a few small companies in the PC and digital spaces during the dot-com boom. Welcome, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
All right. And next, we have Ritesh Mukherjee, Senior Vice President and General Manager at Inseego. Prior to joining Inseego, Ritesh managed a global portfolio of market-leading enterprise solutions, led SD-WAN and cloud developments, and led some of the largest deployments of enterprise networks for leading businesses globally. With his experience, Ritesh focuses on global communications and technology, while he leads product design, solutions engineering, and technical marketing. Thanks for joining, Ritesh.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
All right. And then finally, we have Jonathan Kohlhauer. Jonathan is UST's Global Supply Chain Practice Lead with over 2 decades of management consulting experience at McKinsey & Company and Accenture. He excelled in supply chain strategy across diverse industries. With software proficiencies from roles at Oracle Corporation and Manhattan Associates, he's led global client engagements, exhibiting expertise in various supply chain functions. As a former plastics manufacturer CEO, he understands end-to-end supply chain intricacies. Thank you for joining, Jonathan.
Thank you.
All right. So like every session, I'm going to start off asking our panelists some questions, and then I'll turn it over to the audience, both here in the room and online. Please go ahead and put your questions into the chat. All right. So let's kick this off. Well, when we talk about retail transformation, and some of the new technologies and applications that have emerged recently, especially coming out of the pandemic, what has been the most impactful and what has the most potential?
Great
Paul,
question.
let's start with you. Yeah.
Great question. You know, I was reading a study just a little while ago. 70% of customers are looking for personalized experiences. Wow. Okay. 75% of those customers also are looking for a seamless experience across omni-channel. And here's the big one. 90% are going to walk away from your brand if they don't get them.
Oh.
So there's the eye-opener. So what's behind it? What's changing it? And where are we going? It's AI, and then I'll raise you generative AI. And those two are going to transform what we're doing in retail.
Excellent. Thank you. Adam.
Paul actually took my answer. Customer experience is huge, especially coming back from the pandemic. Especially if you want in-person brick and mortar, customers are coming out for an experience. So there's a lot of edge technologies that are enabled by 5G, because in order for us to get these insights that we need about our customers and what they're doing and how they're interacting with our products in store, we need this data and real-time analytics in order to be able to gain those insights. And 5G is a huge enabler of that. So very exciting stuff.
Excellent. Thank you. Ritesh.
Yeah, for me, I think as the pandemic is over and people are coming back to the stores and retailers are again, trying to rejuvenate their stores and get people back in, I see that the in-store technologies or the in-store experience people are looking for, and the retailers are delivering that now. That is really transformational with AR, VR experiences, video, ability to try things on. Aaron spoke about the Nike store in-store experience. I mean, Nike has a store in Soho where you can try shoes on and run on Central Park. and video screens simulating that you're running on Central Park. So, I mean, those kind of experiences really drive people to the store to see and experience the brand, and those things really excite us. And obviously, connectivity makes that happen. So that's really, really cool.
Excellent. Thank you, Tej.
So I have a bit of a bias because I'm a supply chain guy, and I've been in supply chain for 25 years, and there's never been a better time than right now. Everybody wants to talk about supply chain. So what's got me excited within retail is the visibility, the level of visibility that the merchants, the buyers, the store operators and corporate, the level of visibility that they are just now beginning to get is remarkable, and it's going to continue to transform through technologies like 5G. I look at some of the brands that went through the pandemic, and they were out of stock, and they had real market share loss that they're probably not going to get back. And having that level of visibility at retail is going to be just, I think, phenomenally important.
Okay. Thank you. So I want to go in more into the customer experience and talk about some examples and use cases. Can you share, what are some of the exciting use cases? We talked about the Nike one and the CoverGirl that you have seen, and which ones do you now consider table stakes for retail? That if they haven't incorporated that, they need to pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm up.
Yeah, go for it.
I'd say if you're not using AI-driven search and recommendations, you're behind the eight ball. And I'll tell you what, a lot of retailers are behind the eight ball. It's a critical component of delivering the kind of experience you want. And that's not just a combination of what's happening outside of the store, but it's happening in the store, right? And that discovery process in the store is going to be incredibly important. And that's where we start talking about 5G and being able to do that anywhere, anytime. And I think that's one that you need to jump on. Similarly, I'll let you go.
So thoughtful.
Well, I think computer vision is a big one. You're seeing that a lot now to create that frictionless experience, right? The retailers are looking to reduce friction for the customer, and again, understanding how the customer interacts, where the hotspots are in the store, how they're interacting with products is really instrumental in understanding, and growing as a retailer.
Yeah, one of the things we see in stores is to have 100% uptime and connectivity all the time. I mean, imagine you're in a Tractor Supply store, you buy all your farm equipment and stuff for your pets, and you come to a checkout and the credit card processing is down. I mean, that's a bummer. So you need to have constant connectivity in stores, and that's only possible if you have heterogeneous connectivity, in the sense wired and wireless connectivity to every store. I mean, even for employee experiences in the store, you have these big stores like Dick's Sporting Goods and others who have like batting cages, and you can try things on. And imagine you ask a sales associate, hey, can you tell me if this other thing is available in another color? And they tell you like, oh, I can't check it on my tablet. I got to walk back all the way down there to check. And that just ruins the experience. So having connectivity in the store all the time and every time is so important, and that is possible with wired and wireless technologies, with 5G and other wired technologies. That's really important and crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've watched many retailers struggle with this omni-channel experience. And the biggest blocker for that is the ability to actually have network-wide inventory visibility. If I'm going to promise something to you, and I'm not sure if I've got it in stock, then I shouldn't be making that.
Here, there's just kind of the customer experience from just in operations. I can find the product, I can find it in the color or the size I want. I don't have to wait in line a long time. But then there's also this wow experience, because a lot of the shopping you can do online. You want to go into the stores for these experiences. Again, like the CoverGirl, you can use AR and try on the makeup. I guess in terms of the wow and that fun, what are you seeing right now from retailers with that, and how important is that
I think one of the areas, and this is another area where if you're not started, you're behind, it's interactive displays. You know, we've seen some really cool stuff with a smart display at Walmart that leverages 5G. It's a phenomenal way in the store to transfer whatever experience, regardless of what your brand is. So I think interactive displays, that can translate all the way over to ESLs, shelf labeling, that can be dynamic, not just about price, but it can be tied to whatever I'm trying to buy, and that may be the one you want, lights up red. These are all capabilities that 5G enables, and I think are really the wow factor. You walk down an aisle, and the thing is lit up that you're looking for. You're like, wow, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think exclusivity is a big one. So 5G, one of the things 5G does is it really kind of changes what a retail location even is, right? It's not just a brick and mortar. It could be a truck, a pop-up, you know, something that's exclusive that you get a lot of buzz online, you know, from social media, and then you know, a truck drives up somewhere and you have to meet at a certain place, certain time. Vending machines. You know, we're seeing all kinds of crazy stuff in vending machines, and it's not just, you know, candy bars anymore, you know. We're getting electronics and makeup and all kinds of things. So changing that experience. You know, I mentioned computer vision earlier. You know, I think we've maybe all experienced some sort of retailer with that frictionless experience where you walk in, just grab a product and you can walk back out, right? Because you've, you know, scanned your credit card or something on the way in. So those type of experiences, they're frictionless, they're fun. You can go in, get what you need, and get out. Or again, that exclusivity of you know, hey, I knew about this thing, and now it's just for me. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the wow factor, I'm a big fan of saying the wow factor in retail. And the reason for that is, I mean, you go to a store and you need to see exciting stuff. I mean, if you want to have new customers, just showing them the same goods they have bought, or, you know, slightly based on their experiences, showing them, you know, things they need, is not really creating a wow factor. If you want to sell someone a car which is different and cool, and, you know, with whatever, electric vehicle with all this great screen and other things, you need to have some wow factor. And for that, you need to create an experience in the store. Like if you go to the Rivian stores now, they have like a lounge, they have like a seating area where you can try the car and then come sit down, you know, think about it a little bit before you make a choice, and you get all this, you know, exciting different things in the store. So creating that wow factor is really important to get new customers loyal to your brand and get people excited about your brand. I mean, showing anyone a T-shirt and it comes in 5 colors, well, yeah, that's good, but it's not really exciting. If you need to have new stuff, you need to have an experience in the store.
So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the areas I spend quite a bit of time on is on orchestrating that experience, particularly around buy online, pick up in store. And I think what a lot of retailers don't understand is they can hurt themselves as much as they can help themselves with that experience. If they botch that experience, they can do more damage to the brand than they do in helping it. And it's hard. Buy online, pick up in store is not easy. And it requires this level of kind of 5G connectivity in order to execute that. I need to know what my customer bought, where I'm going to stage it. Oh, by the way, flowers are different than fish. You can't stage them in the same way. I need to know when she walks, you know, out of the parking lot up to my store, so I can orchestrate the delivery process of that. All of that is very, very complex, and I'm kind of like on this mission to help retailers understand the complexity and learn from the mistakes that we've experienced over the last decade, because we have watched retailers pour lots of money into that buy online pickup experience. And I tell you what, if you've ever had a bad experience, you know it. I mean, you probably won't go back.
So Jonathan, I think definitely want to dive into this further. So the problem statement that you just made in terms of managing this and then identifying when someone's actually arrived at the store to pick this up, I feel like we have the technology now. I mean, the capabilities are now available. What do we need to do, or how do we solve this problem and piece this together?
Part of my answer is not necessarily going to be directed towards 5G, but we'll get there. We do have the technology. All you have to do is Put in an order at your local Whole Foods, and you will experience that buy online, pick up in store as it's intended to be. The problem that I see right now is that most retailers have no idea what it's costing them to deliver that experience. And I really encourage them to put the metrics in place so they understand what it's actually costing them to do that. There are several new players that are very geared towards that mid-market to provide technology out of the box that will give you the same experience of buying your Starbucks, where you can order it 5 minutes ahead and it's there when you want to pick it up. And so there are innovative technologies out there that retailers are gradually buying into. But so far, a lot of it's been done in-house, and that can be, expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some interesting stats to share. It says 71% of retailers reported lacking real-time inventory visibility to offer an accurate view of in-store product availability. 50% of brands say unifying online and in-store operations and data will be their biggest challenge over the next year. I think
it's important to understand the size of the market and how meaningful it is. So right now, let's say the United States is $7 trillion in retail sales. 10% of that's going through a buy online, pick up in store experience. And it's only going up. So I think that's a key opportunity.
Yeah.
You talked about the data itself, so that's where the value is in collecting that data at the edge. And so we kind of define the edge as where the data is acted on in order to provide, at or near the time of creation, in order to provide some sort of meaningful and essential value. So to your point about how do we track, store inventory, what's on the shelves, what's been lost through theft or whatever, is, we have cameras, sensors, these type of things where we can gather this data, and there are platforms available for retailers today to do all of these things. Track, again, customer interaction throughout the store, vehicle identification, when the person pulls up to get their order out to them. So there's ways of sort of automating and orchestrating these processes, and there are platforms out there to do that.
Can I jump in?
Sure, go for it.
Don't you hate it when you order from the grocery store and 5 of the items aren't in there? Isn't that frustrating? Cuts, subs, what is that? Right? Stop that. They don't know what their inventory is. They don't have any good perpetual inventory system in place. What are they lacking? They're lacking the ability to either have a smart shelf or have a visual input to what the in-stock conditions are. This is not brain surgery. We have the technologies today. On top of that, let's run some AI and be able to affect the ordering process, tie right into the supply chain transparency that Jonathan's talking about. And from that whole experience, we're now in a situation with 5G powering it all, right, to be able to be in stock. And now your satisfaction with buy online, pick up in store, your curbside, you're in stock. And you don't get, cabbage when you ordered lettuce.
One of the things that we're seeing more and more is the retailers talk about their brick and mortar stores as their new distribution center. This is my new fulfillment center at the brick and mortar store level. And if that's going to be the case, then we need to take a lot of these concepts and processes that we've worked on in the fulfillment center, things like cycle counting, where you've got a store associate and they're going to do one thing, and you're going to have them do 2 other things while they're out there on the floor. You're going to count, 2 other categories of items for a cycle count. And by doing it, you're going to fix that problem of, I might not know precisely how many I have, but I'm going to get a heck of a lot closer.
Yeah. See, at Google, we call that dynamic task management. And it's really a function of being able to take a look at what are the skills of your employees on the floor and what are the most important tasks to be done. And you're just running this in the background and you're pushing out that information so that that's happening. Friends of ours at Kroger have implemented this at scale. So if you think that's a visionary kind of concept, it's not. It's live.
Well, and if the in some cases the store is that fulfillment center, but in other cases we'll have what we refer to as a micro fulfillment center, where you have a distribution center, but then you're taking pickable items and putting them in another facility, and we can wrap automation around that as well. So a software platform that can assist the person who's doing the actual picking, or even take it to another level where robotics, we're starting to see robotics kind of creep in there to either assist or do the actual order fulfillment. And these are platforms, it sounds like maybe, I've got to build a whole new infrastructure to do this. These are brownfield, deployments. We don't have to have special shelves or anything like that to do these type of things. Again, technology is available today off the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this technology is already available, just like you said. I mean, we can do it today, and all the data is also available, but it's just that the data is it's all over the place, and you're collecting data of consumers, from SMS, from social media, from the support calls they're doing, from in-store visits, and putting it all together. But to create an experience requires some ingenuity other than the data as well. I give the example, we have a dog, Cooper, at home, and so we are always talking, hey, Cooper, what are you doing, Cooper? And the most ads we see on Hulu and everything is about Cooper University. I mean, we are not going to Cooper University because we have a dog named Cooper, but it's you can use AI to do a lot of scraping of data, and it's great, but it somehow doesn't result in the best experience all the time. I mean, and that is lacking, I think.
I guess one of your buddies must have said, "I'll give you $100 if you can get your dog into this."
Or maybe it's something we are sending him for babysitting or something, or dog sitting, and yeah.
I get frustrated whenever you buy something online and then you continually get bombarded for ads for the thing you just bought.
Yeah.
I already have one. I don't need it again.
Yeah.
Maybe another color.
Right.
You never know.
Right.
But sometimes it can be also a real great thing to use technology. For example, everyone who does DIY stuff at home, you pick out something like a flange, a nut, a bolt, and you don't know how to describe it. You just take that to the store, to the Home Depot or the Lowe's, and you find an associate and you tell him, I need this. And if you've forgotten that at home, then you try to describe it to him and it never goes well, and you don't know what you're trying to get. So I mean, if you could take a photograph of that and, using AI, we analyze the photograph and already upload it to your cart, that's what you need. Those are good stuff to do, of course. I mean, those are really, really convenient things to have.
And that can enhance that online experience. Where we're seeing generative AI being used is in a digital human space. So having a digital human as a concierge for your e-commerce site for exactly that reason. Hey, help me identify this thing. I just want to talk to somebody because navigating an e-commerce site can sometimes be a little cumbersome. You have to do filters. You have to kind of know what you're searching for. But if you could talk to a digital human that's been trained on all of the back-end company data, that understands all the product sets, where you could just describe maybe a project that you're working on, and it could tell you, okay, here's what you need for that project, and then navigate the site for you. Again, it exists today. The future is now.
Exactly.
Ready to go.
Yeah, an example I was talking about during our lunch was, again, connecting that online and in-store. So guilty of searching Nordstrom.com every night and, looking at sweaters or something. But if I'm at the mall, it knows that I'm there. Nordstrom says, hey, we noticed you've been looking at these sweaters. Would you like us to put them in a room for you? We know your size. They'll be ready in 10 minutes. You could just see how you can make this concierge, almost like VIP service that would, again, I'd be more likely to buy those sweaters.
Yeah, right.
Much easier. So lots of opportunity, and to your point, the technology is there. So I have one more question for our panelists, and then I am going to turn it over to the audience, so you guys get your questions ready. So talking about all this personalization, I got to ask the privacy question, which always comes up when we talk about AI. In the consumer and retail space, how does that play? is that even more threatening, or what's the response for consumers on this?
How many of you all have had the Cooper experience that rejects, right? It follows you around. You're having a conversation, before you know it, it's following you everywhere, and you're like, whoa, you know, I didn't give permission for this.
Probably all going to get ads for Cooper University.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go. I've
We're
done
all
it.
going to go now.
Well, I mean, bottom line here, and this is what I tell retailers all over the world, is you've got to be transparent. You've got to share what you're doing, what data you're collecting, let your customers opt into it, and then when those things happen, okay, you know, I opted in. Be transparent about what you're collecting, but also why. Because if you don't tell them what's in it for them, then they're probably not going to opt in. But what's in it for all of us? Well, we get better personalized experiences. We're going to get the suggestions that we're interested in. And we're going to save money, right? Because a lot of these have to do with deals and offers on things we would buy and want anyway. So creepy only is creepy when you didn't give permission.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fine line between like what's personalization. I mean, we already saw the stats, 78% increase in sales from personalization, but also there are other stats which say that you're 3 times as likely to lose customers if you over-personalize, if people feel that their data is being used. And there are 3 things we say to do. One is obviously get consent. Let people know you're going to use their data, or you're going to tell them how you're going to use it. And the second is establishing ground rules. Like when you sign up for a rewards program or anything, you know what the ground rules are. Like you sign up for it, I'm going to get this much points or whatever, and they're going to use my data this way. You feel comfortable doing it. And the third is, how much is too much for any consumer? Like some people might be okay with having facial recognition in the stores and getting a personalized experience. Other people might be like freaked out. Oh my God, you're seeing my, you're using facial recognition in the store for it. So those 3 things, have to be very carefully monitored to make sure that personalization doesn't go into the creepy space.
Yep.
Well, we have regulations that we have to deal with, obviously, especially for online retailers. We have to deal with European GDPR, those type of regulations. So just having the ability to opt out. So, hey, you have this data, that was really cool, but I'm a little freaked out, so can you please delete my data now? Like having that option, and that's what those type of regulations are about. So I think that's important. Consumers have that, at least have the ability
Sure.
to know that they can do that.
Absolutely.
Most browsers don't allow cookies anymore, so even if you browsed, except for Chrome, which I guess we'll fix it soon.
Really? You want to start that? Okay.
Any questions from the audience? Oh, here we go.
Hi. Oh, can you? Thank you all. This is really, really interesting. I wanted to go back to something you've touched on around inventory, right? So garbage in, garbage out. You've kind of alluded to the fact that you don't always know what's on the shelf. And certainly there are smart technologies, smart shelves, video, everything else. But retailers are usually operating on very razor-thin margins. So I'm curious, is there a combination of technologies? I think it's great with 5G because you can have that real-time visibility. But again, garbage in, garbage out. So is there a combination of technologies that you see working really well? Like, is RFID still important? Training processes for the humans. What have you seen work?
Well, I'd tell you that absolutely getting good practices in your operation will cut down. That's not an 80 for 20, but when you think about the progression of using technology in this space, I always start with, let's take the POS data, put AI on top of it, and start figuring out what's anomaly, right? There's no way the inventory is that. We know what's going on here. And so you get that is your 80 for 20 break. And then the icing on the top, I think, when you want to get down to point something, less than 1, you start putting in your vision system layers, and you start putting in your smart shelf layers. And it's got to be built on a business case, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're not going to do all this stuff unless it's going to pay out. But I'd say get started with AI on top of your POS, and you'd be amazed how much inventory anomaly gets taken out. Pop that into your task management system, and before you know it, you're able to keep perpetuals within a nice little window.
Well, it's a good way to track the value because, like Paul said, there's a business case to be had here. So if you do have a lot of product that's disappearing, if you had a way to track that, at least initially with a POS system, layering AI on top of that, you could at least have some sort of measurement that you could go back and say, okay, we're seeing loss here, or breakage, or just some other anomaly. Here's how we could mitigate that cost, so then it becomes a cost avoidance conversation for the business.
Yeah, in terms of technologies, people already started. I mean, all the big retailers have started using blockchain for management and for inventory and so on. Also, RFID tags, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see active and passive RFID tags being used for different tracking purposes. All those are good, and to merge it with some point of sales data and to know where you are in the process and where is what, can really bring down the time it takes to locate something and to figure it out from like hours to like minutes to seconds, and that can really help. Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to add one last thing. So
Please.
just last week, I was talking to a retailer, and it was the first time I'd heard that the sourcing department has mandated suppliers to put an RFID tag on a certain category. These are large, bulky items that you move it once, and you can't afford to move it more than once. I was a little bit surprised to hear that they were putting that burden back on the manufacturer or their supplier. So that was on RFID. The other thing that I think is really cool is using AI with your demand planning system and looking at alternative sources, alternative demand signals, unstructured data, things like social media. How do I take the Instagram feeds and translate that into, a demand signal, and then how do I separate the signal from the noise? That is leading edge stuff that's going into all of their enterprise systems, SAP and Oracle, to augment that demand or that supply variability or that supply lead time.
Everybody make your profiles private on Instagram.
Hi, everyone. Ohad Barnoy, I'm with Amdocs. We launched last month a AI-powered, fully autonomous retail store with Etisalat in Dubai. Basically, you come to the store, facial recognition identifies you, lets you in through a carousel, tracks you in the store. You can buy everything from like accessories, right, to phones, tablets, even fixed wireless access routers to take with you home. And I had an argument with my son, would that work in the US, right? In the sense of, you guys talked about privacy, but even from a consumer experience perspective, are consumers that are already going to the store, are they really, and again, I'm talking specifically about a telco store, not about a Target or Walmart, are they ready for that fully digital, I'm in the store, but I don't really need to talk to a person? Or do you think a more hybrid approach would work? What's your thoughts on that?
So, like you said, I mean, in the retail space, it's already happening. There are Amazon stores where you can do the self-checkout here as well, and you can just, it recognizes you and allows you to do that. Regarding the ones with a little higher end equipment, or which requires, some sort of, I think a hybrid approach works better at this point, mainly because customers have questions. Customers want to know, should I buy the 32 GB phone or the 64 GB phone? And they have questions like that. If they are not able to make that decision and order online, then they probably are in the store. That means they are looking for someone to assist them or to ask some questions. So that a hybrid approach will work better at this point.
Thank you.
We're slower moving here in the U.S. We need to be comfortable with something. We got to live with it for a little while before we
have
jump
questions.
in. Yeah, we have questions.
Adam, the session is being recorded.
But that's something that could be augmented with AI, digital human, because it creates a consistent experience. So again, when you have something that's been trained on like your company's back-end data, and you can use like a pre-trained model that's multilingual and can speak to and provide a consistent answer. Because I mean, when you go into a store, admittedly, depending on what store employee you talk to, you might get a different answer. So that's something that could potentially be augmented with that technology as well to help enhance the experience.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a two-part question. They're all kind of related. So you guys are shooting for the moon, I get it. You're selling the race car before the roads are done though, because I'm thinking of all these technologies, going to the mall, shopping for a car. I go to a grocery store every week, but I don't know where things are in the other grocery stores. So if I go to another Whole Foods, I don't know what things are on the shelf. They don't move around. I don't care about the quantity. I just want to find it when it gets there because it's a different location. Companies already have that information. So why are we not using the information that is already there for customers? Why is this secret information of how the layout of the store is? It's available, but nobody puts it out there. So the second question is kind of related to that is you guys mentioned that there's thin margins, less people to do things, but we're still putting paper tags where in Europe I've seen electronic tags for years. Why are we so far behind in the US where we can't invest $1 million and never hire people to do that and actually have people go out and help customers versus changing tags or stock shelves? Thank you.
So the first question is, why can't you help me find stuff in the store? and the second, I'm not trying to belittle it. I'm just trying to make sure I'm getting it. Bottom line, if you go to some of your better retailers, they're doing exactly that. In fact, there's a company that we partner with called Orient that can tell within 1 meter where you are in a store. If you're opening the app, it'll show you where everything is. You can use Gen AI right now from Google and say, hey, help me find the ketchup. It'll use that map and take you right there. So you're going to see retailers putting this in waves. This is not pie in the sky stuff. What was the second part?
It's about paper tags.
Paper tag.
Oh, ESLs, there has been no business case in the US for electronic shelf labels until very recently. And what's been going on, cost has been coming down, but also the other use cases for what those things are going to be for. And so you're going to see, and you are, at some of the bigger retailers, ESLs being selectively deployed where the cost model works. In a grocery store, which is what we're talking about, 2 to 3% margin at the end of the day, right? You don't make a lot of money, so you got to be very, very careful about what you put in. But you're going to see ESLs for sure with the labor challenges. And they're already out there in many places, maybe just not in Seattle.
But I think from a merchandising standpoint, some of what you're talking about, we talked about this earlier. I like to bring up the JAM study. So if you're not familiar with the JAM study, it's probably 20 years ago now, two psychologists have put together this study in a high-end grocery store where they set up a display of 24 different kinds of jams, give out a free sample. If you get a free sample, you get a coupon. It was to test the conversion rate. So then the following week, they set up another display, but this time they only put 6 different varieties on it. And again, gave out samples. And with the larger sample set, they had a 3% conversion rate. But with the smaller sample set, they had a 30% conversion rate. And as the same number of people came through the store, they actually had more people approach the larger sample because it was more interesting. Okay, I'm going to go try it, but they were just overwhelmed by choice. So some of what you're talking about is when you're navigating the store, you've got all these choices and you get overwhelmed by navigating the store, trying to figure out where everything is. So that was something we realized 20 years ago. And now when we have the tools, we have the technology now that we can track that in real time. So we would know instantly what kind of displays are working, where something should be merchandised in the store for people, when they're coming in, they could track you through the store and figure out, okay, this guy's going up and down the aisles, he's frustrated, okay, now he finally found the mustard. Okay, so we've got to kind of revisit how we're merchandising mustard, or whatever is an example. But that technology exists, and the desire's always been there to enhance that customer experience. Because again, it's all centered around customer experience. If the customer has a good experience, you're going to get conversion.
But you do have a point there that for some things, it's having routine and going to the same store and finding the same place does make it convenient. Again, one more example from Cooper. He only eats one kind of food. So my wife, like, no, she loves it that we go to chewy.com and it's already remembers Cooper likes this food and that is already in front. Just order it easily. It's convenient to do that. Yeah, I mean, don't show me exciting food, other foods, when I don't want it. So there's definitely that.
I think there's an interesting proposition on this. Sorry, I'll make this really quick. There's an interesting proposition on this with the electronic shelf labels. How about approaching the brand and saying, here's the deal. I know you want this shelf space. I want you to sponsor these digital tags. And oh, by the way, if you want, you can monitor the pricing and you can adjust it within reason. You can have a say in the pricing. I mean, I'm not trying to push everything back on the brand, but at 2% margin, Kroger can't afford it.
For me, the biggest thing is if I'm driving around and I'm somewhere else, I would skip the store and go to the store I want, which will add driving time, because if I go to that store, that's extra half an hour for me to find the stuff that I always buy, because Whole Foods in Kirkland is different than the Whole Foods in Redmond.
Yeah.
If I know the map of where things are, because the store knows where their stuff is put for that particular store, I don't need to be tracked with the camera. I just need to have their information, the same thing kind of what Tesla did. They're like, okay, we'll give you all the information, just got to build on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, my name is Jeremy. Thank you guys for being here. It's awesome discussion. My question is around brand storytelling and how technology can help us tell better stories as marketers at the point of purchase. Today, since COVID, a lot of signature stores, where these flagship stores that really showcase the brand, delivered these incredible experiences for consumers, brought the level of personalization, brought the level of storytelling that allowed people to connect more emotionally with their brand. Today, traffic is down. As we know, Amazon owns, over 40% of the total revenue of online. And people are seeing and finding those personal stories as well as those personal products, i.e. hair care products that fit me, versus a one-size-fits-all model that a lot of times you get in retail. In that context, what do you see as the future of brands being able to tell stories within stores? A lot of times, probably there's hesitation to make that type of investment because we know that we're going to be reduced down to a tag or a shelf facing. What is the future of storytelling with 5G?
I think brands and retailers are walking the same path with this problem. And what I mean by that is retailers don't want their stores to go away. They don't want their foot traffic to erode. So they're on a mission to become much more experiential. So if we think about what are they going to have to do, they're going to have to infuse that interactive experience. So we're talking about interactive displays in the store. We're talking about then taking it to a different form factor on your phone when you're not in the store and being able to deliver those kinds of experiences and brand stories and backstories on the product. And I think that's the journey that you're seeing most of the marketers in retail starting to think about and starting to partner with their CPG suppliers.
I think retailers, but they've always tried to tell a story. They all, with their lines, with how they merchandise, how they design products, they're generally telling some sort of story, whether it's a seasonal story or some kind of lifestyle type of story. But you said we could use cliches, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. So, there's a Simon Sinek quote. He says, "People don't buy what you're selling; they buy why you're selling it." Right. So you wanna kind of start with that why and kind of work through, like, here's why we exist, and then people identify with that, and you become that brand, and sort of those iconic brands. People get Harley Davidson tattoos on their body because they love that lifestyle, right? So, it's creating that lifestyle and telling that story. So I think retailers have historically tried to do that, but it's becoming more prevalent, especially online, influx of social media, affiliate marketing, using influencers to tell those stories and reinforce those stories. So I think that's where technology is coming in to help with that.
But you bring up a good point. I mean, there are, everyone can't open a flagship store of their own and sort of have an in-store experience and create that. We have seen, post the pandemic, we have seen two kinds of stores which are really opening, two kind of retailers who are opening stores, more and more stores, and the remaining are, of course, unfortunately shutting down. One of them is, of course, these flagship stores who create like experiences and in-store experiences, and the other is the dollar stores or the bulk stores and the ones who do wholesale and so on. So those are the two. So either you are creating an in-store experience or you are partnering or being a part in that other store to showcase your story. And of course, since everyone spoke about it, omni-channel experiences, you don't have to always create a story in the store. If you're selling orange juice, yeah, maybe having a kiosk in Costco and giving samples out and doing some online marketing might be enough. I mean, I don't know so much about the orange juice market, but I'm just saying, that could be just your story. It doesn't have to be. You have to create a whole store of your own for that. Yeah. Thankfully, all of them are using 5G in every store, so we're happy.
Excellent response. Thank you. All right, next, and then we do have one online with Jimmy after that.
Hey, my name is Jonathan G. Blanco. I've been working in retail technology for most of my career, so I'm loving this conversation. So it's a lot of fun. You brought up AI, and you talk about a lot from the experience side, but clearly AI is going to be used in product creation and on the digital side. And so I'm just curious, what are all your thoughts in regards to securing that and authenticating those things, and if you've thought about tokenization and what your thoughts are in that regard?
Yeah, I teach a cybersecurity course at Northeastern, so I love the question on privacy and security. With AI, I mean, obviously AI can help with security as well, but the weird part is the company which opened GenAI to the world, they themselves got hacked. So it's not like always AI is helping you, and just because you're good at AI, you know how to do that. Definitely tokenization and any of these things are a must-have, but security has to be inbuilt now with anything we do, or any, like, even connectivity. I mean, we are like, we should have FIPS-certified encryption everywhere. We should have good random number generators everywhere. We should have all sorts of security everywhere. But that's becoming table stakes. But obviously, that takes away the convenience and the ease of use. We teach that in security, that the more secure you try to make things, you introduce more steps. So you got to find a balance.
I see two use cases, one around counterfeit, and food safety, and brand awareness. And so where I think a consumer ought to be able to walk into a Louis Vuitton store with a phone, snap a QR code, and immediately get the chain of custody. I want to know, where was this, where did the leather come from? Where did, the brass come from, or whatever, the clasps? And I can see that chain of custody all the way back. I'm dealing with a large apparel manufacturer right now, and they want their consumer to be able to make sure that they know where the cotton came from, that it didn't come from areas that are banned as far as for labor rights. And being able to show that, sure, you can have a certificate of origin, which we've had for a while. This is completely different. So giving that confidence that it's not stolen, it's not counterfeit, and knowing that it's not going to kill me, right? It's going to be safe, and that it's ESG compliant. That's becoming more and more important.
Well, the value of whatever AI platform you're going to try to leverage, or whatever services, is the data, right? So your data that you're collecting about your business, or maybe even about your customer, and keeping that data, that's your proprietary information. That belongs to the company. So you want to stay within those bounds. So we generally, when we talk about these type of privacy conversations, where you want to have some sort of insight, but you don't want to, you don't want it to leak out into, some other platform, is keeping that platform. And there's enablers that enable you to kind of build your own platform, train your own LLM, for instance, and create your own inference models based on your data, and then keeping that in-house, and then leveraging that just for your business is one way to kind of keep it secure. Then it's not out in the ecosphere.
Yeah.
I'll throw another log on the fire. My guidance on this thing would be work with an enterprise provider. We're doing this all around the world, and you don't get out there. Any of you all using some of the more consumer generative AI kinds of capabilities, get that stuff off because you're making everybody smarter about what you're asking about. What you want is something that's running in your own tenancy, you got control of it, and you're building your own unique instance and model as a result. So happy to talk to you after if you want to dig into that one.
I was just going to mention that I'm watching these wrestling matches going on between retailers and the third parties that are coming in, whether it's Uber Eats or Instacart, because if they come in, the retailer doesn't own that data. Instacart owns your data, and they'll sell it back to you. But there's a real wrestling match going on right now because that's what they thrive on. The retailers thrive on having that insight and that information.
And that's where the tokenization becomes really interesting, right? It's like using that as a key for unlocking things and the behavior.
Right.
So
Well, and usually in retail, you're dealing with maybe multiple dozens, hundreds, thousands of locations. You've got non-technical staff that you're dealing with. You want to be able to provision infrastructure, provision application services in a secure way. One of the things that we do is we have a platform that will enable you to basically tokenize. So we'll create like a hash, like we call a voucher, based during the manufacturing process that identifies from a hardware perspective, like all the internal components, like they're all serials of like the CPU and network card, like those type of things, and create a voucher. So when that device is shipped to the retail location, you could have like a store manager plug it in, power it on, and that voucher, that hash is validated so that you know that that device wasn't tampered with somewhere along the delivery process. And it's validated, now it comes online, you automatically deploy that location, keep that secure. So that's something we can do there.
all right, well, thank you so much.
Sure.
Great, thank you. Great question. All right, Jimmy, we have a question online.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions here online from Axel. So first one, what are the obstacles to bring in the personalized experience to retail, both physical and digital? And then the second part of this question is, how do you bridge these innovative technologies like AI-powered search, AI-powered product experiences, computer vision, connectivity, smart displays, and omni-channel experiences?
There was a lot there.
Yeah, so the first question, let's start with the first one.
Let's go with the first one. All right, so what are the obstacles to bring in, or to bring in these personalized experiences to retail, both physical and digital?
I'd start by saying the biggest obstacle is always data. Most of the retailers, when they begin this journey, are sitting in a situation where they have data that's siloed. Bringing that data together, having a really good data strategy, that's job one. Get that done, and then the use cases fly in all directions based on the data that you've been able to acquire. So that's how I go about eating it.
And we just discussed that the biggest obstacle to personalization is privacy. Mm-hmm. The more you personalize, the more you intrude on privacy, and that causes a bad effect on the consumer. I mean, they tend to stay away from on this kind of thing. So there's a fine line to deal with personalization.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest sort of retail fallacies in general is the idea of the retailer trying to appeal to many different consumers. So knowing who your consumer is and creating a limited use case, like don't try to boil the ocean, basically. So that's generally a barrier for a lot of retailers. They try to be all things to all people. So find a niche and start there, and then build on it.
Okay. All right, so second part to this. Okay, so how do you bridge these innovative technologies like AI-powered search, AI-powered product experiences, computer vision, connectivity, smart displays, and omni-channel experiences?
Well, ideally, I mean, you don't want to create like a mixed soup of everything. I mean, you want to focus on what works for your brand and what works for that store. It doesn't mean you have to use everything. I mean, people just spoke about it that maybe you don't need smart shelves. Maybe you have RFID tags and that's enough. I mean, you don't need to do everything and be everything to everyone. And AI is good for like inventory management and for understanding consumer behavior and so on and making recommendations. It doesn't mean you have to push AI everywhere without the need for it.
Yeah, we just said don't boil the ocean. Trying to deploy all the technology. Now, so AI generally, like, there's kind of three sort of categories that we put in. When I say AI, more generative AI now, because that's all the rage right now. Right? So we talk about how it can transform the business. We talk about how it can enhance productivity, and also how it can enhance trust. Because again, you're creating, we're creating data. We're creating new information from data sets that are multimodal. And so we need something that's consistent, that's trusted, that falls within the guardrails that the business has created and maintains your brand and consistency. So again, I would find that use case. It doesn't have to be every single technology, and start somewhere and build from there.
I agree with Adam. I'm going to give you a framework. Fundamentally, start with what's your business strategy? What do you want to be known for? What do you really think are the biggest pain points your business has? And then move to, what do I have data to solve for, right? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about AI here, and we're going to want to solve it with that. But then I think it's also important to think through how am I going to be able to take advantage of all this stuff, and is there a business case behind what I'm asking for? And so whenever I have a customer come to me with the question and it's got 7 different initiatives, help me understand what's your most important 2 or 3, and we can get started, because I want to get you in a success, and then I want to rinse and repeat. And before you know it, you've created a retail data platform that enables you to do whatever you want. But you're never going to get there with the capital committee or any other financial group you've got in your company if you start with boiling the ocean.
One of the things that I've found working in retail that makes it kind of fun but kind of frustrating is the different personas that you've got to work with. I've got to work with the VP of merchandising, the VP of store operations, the VP of supply chain, and probably they'll drag the e-commerce guy in there as well, and the CIO. And getting those people together online, in line and aligned with what they're doing, can be quite challenging. And so, just kind of offering that out there as one of the caveats to getting those things to line up. Unfortunately, I look at AI and the companies that say they want to go rush out and put in AI, I'm afraid that they could put technology ahead of their actual capability to deliver it. So going back to things like, what's your strategy? What's your data? Make sure you got your house in order. Can I do order management? Can I do inventory visibility? Those are the table stakes if you really want to get some of the other things to work for you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, quick check here in the room. We've got a question, yes.
Let's bring it back to the business level. So technology, investments, you had IT, and then you had SG&A, whatever else. So with technology being rolled out over the years, how has that impacted the true metric, customer acquisition cost?
Question.
Customer. So like pricing, like
cost
like
to acquire
inflation.
customer.
Oh, customer.
Acquire customer.
Like new customers,
Yes.
versus retaining existing customers. That's a good question.
Well, the cost to obtain a customer, 40 years ago was 4 TV channels. And now we have such a fragmented and distributed way that we can reach consumers my sense, and I don't have a study to back this up, but my sense, the acquisition cost continues to get higher and higher. And as a result, loyalty is a far better investment than hiring the next new customer to your franchise.
Yeah, I think so. Keeping existing customers always, sort of that lower cost versus getting a new one. But how we reach new customers is changing. So, like you said, we used to, if you want to reach 2 million people, whatever you would, or 200 million people, you would place a Super Bowl ad or something like that, right? Now you can reach 200 million people by contracting with like 10 influencers, right? And so, and it's more targeted, right? Because those influencers know who the people are that are following them. They know their demographic, and you can have a more targeted acquisition, and then there's an incentive in it for them because you pay them or they get a percentage of sales or GP or something. And so how we reach them is definitely evolved from a technology perspective.
Yeah, I mean, your point is well received in the sense that, yeah, the technology hasn't helped change the acquisition cost, but it has helped widen the reach in the sense now you have omni-channel experiences, you can sell. Most people buy through 2 or 3 different channels today. So that really has changed. Your reach has changed, the ability to use technology to reach and also to meet the customer demands. Like customers today are more aware. They want to have these experiences, these personalized experiences. And so that has what technology has helped with. It has not changed the acquisition cost or lowered the acquisition cost. It hasn't done that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, next question.
I think T-Mobile's done quite well at selling to consumers. And my question for you is, can you paint for me a vision of success for how T-Mobile for Business can use the retail assets that they have to increase business to larger enterprise organizations?
When you say retail assets, what do you mean?
Retail stores.
Retail stores.
Interesting question.
So it's interesting. It's interesting when you look at some of the innovations. I mean, if you look at the financial performance of a retailer, one of the things they absolutely despise is markdowns. Okay, great. Let's take that problem and let's try to solve for that problem. How do you do that? Well, one of the ways is through things like omni-channel commerce. There's this problem in retail called the broken SKU. So if I've got a lineup of shoes, I'm going to sell out of the 6, 7, and 8. Well, what do I do with the 10 and 11 and the 2 and the 3? If I can sell that anywhere, regardless of whether it's in Seattle or Baltimore, I'm going to reduce the amount of markdown that I have. But if I don't know that it's in Seattle, there's no way I can sell it. So attacking it at the business problem is what's going to be the most important, and understanding what are they concerned. Are they concerned about markdowns? Are they look at Dick's Sporting Goods. What a hit Dick's took because of theft. Is it your order to cash cycle time? There are real problems that working capital is a huge problem. I think if you look at what a lot of the retailers have done over the last 18 months, now that they're getting back into this in-stock position, they've overcorrected. I mean, retail inventories in the US are up 45%. That's not free. And so they're struggling with this constrained working capital. So maybe what I'm saying is, let's figure out what that most meaningful problem is. And I promise you that there's a reason why T-Mobile should be in that conversation.
And just to give some context, I don't want to speak for T-Mobile. I mean, I work for Inseego, but we partner with T-Mobile quite a bit. We make CPEs and routers and hotspots, and that is sold through T-Mobile to retailers and so on. And just to give you, just from what we see, I mean, the network coverage and the pervasiveness of the network availability everywhere, it has definitely raise the level of consciousness about having a wireless network connection in every store. I mean, we are seeing that all over. just from our perspective, we have seen almost 60,000 new deployments, new customer deployments in the last 12 months alone. And that is, I mean, that's just from us, our side. I mean, through T-Mobile, T-Mobile's probably doing much more, and I can't comment on that. But we are seeing definitely the network and the availability everywhere has definitely, allowed people to have, like I said, heterogeneous connections in every store, being able to do deliver experiences in the store and so on. We're seeing that definitely.
Thank you, and I think I'll try to answer the question specifically around T-Mobile Enterprise. I think we can take some of the technologies that we talked about today, whether it's AI, the experiences, and maybe it's a different audience, but I think we can take a lot of those new tools and best practices and then apply them to the enterprise sector as well. So again, lots of opportunity, especially once we can implement those. And I love that you brought it back to 5G and what we're seeing in the store. And then that's going to be the last question here, is going back to these technologies and the advantages of 5G versus Wi-Fi. I'd like to hear from each of you on how these technologies are getting better over a 5G network versus traditional Wi-Fi that most retailers already have.
Yeah, I can start. One of the biggest challenges we had when we launched the curbside at Walmart, and then again at H-E-B where I was next, was how do we give a fantastic customer experience at the curb when they came for pickup? And that was a challenge because you're in an outdoor, uncontrolled environment, and it wasn't really that conducive for a Wi-Fi setup. So I think inevitably we wound up on the 5G platform, and having associate tools that worked on that platform became much more stable, more secure, those kinds of things. So that's kind of my take.
It's a great example. Thanks.
I mean, regarding Wi-Fi and 5G, 5G has much longer distances than Wi-Fi. That's the real difference. Having said that, the backhaul for any Wi-Fi is also wired or 5G. You can't have simply a Wi-Fi in the middle of everywhere, or you can't do that. It doesn't mean that Wi-Fi is going away immediately, mainly because of the cost of like 5G chipsets and having that in every IoT device or everything. That makes it easier to have a low-cost connection to a Wi-Fi. But also, if you want real mobility, you need to move to 5G. If you want to have connected cars and so on, there's no concept of having Wi-Fi helping you there. I mean, Wi-Fi can be a hotspot in the car, but it can't really be the connection. So that has to be the 5G network, and that's where we see the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say same thing. So you stole my answer again. But from a deployment standpoint, it's much easier for a retailer to deploy a 5G network because of the management capabilities. And so devices that do support 5G, they're very easily provisioned and deployed on these networks. And it's more secure. You've got more range. You can cover a large space with a single antenna, versus having hotspots everywhere. So there's a lot of advantages there. And like I said before, it kind of changes what a retail location even is. It gives you that mobility. It could be a pop-up. It could be something at a farmer's market. It could be anything. It could be on an airplane. It could be anywhere.
Absolutely.
I mentioned to you during lunch that I had lunch on Friday with the CIO at Ross Stores, and I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity. And I said to him, "Do you see what value do you see in 5G?" And I was kind of surprised by his answer. He said, "Speed. That's it." And I tried pushing him on other things, like I tried pushing him on security or, inventory or visibility. Nope, one thing. That's all I care about is speed. So, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong. He's right because it's his opinion. But I was interested that he didn't wander very far from that.
Well, in the bottom line, I mean, 5G is about productivity and customer experience, and connectivity is those things, right? So, I mean, that's it.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. So thank you very much. Let's give our panelists a round of applause and our audience. Excellent questions. And engagement. So of course, for those here, please stick around for more networking. And if you haven't had a chance to check out the demo with Juice, please do so. And I will also give a plug for our final speaker series this year, December 5th, on robotics. So please go register on our site, techexperience.com. Thanks again and have a great evening.